Welcome to the Ravens Vail Coven. The Coven features short, independent stories with themes ranging from dark horror and fantasy to any other disturbing fiction. The Coven contains stories written outside the ongoing storyline of the Ravens Vail universe. The stories are submitted by listeners, authors, and storytellers and are carefully curated by the staff of Ravens Vail. To learn about our guidelines for submitting your story for consideration, go to www.ravensvail.com and click on the Submission tab on the menu bar.
The Ravens Vail Coven is part of our dark fantasy horror anthology podcast and may contain explicit language or thematic elements not suitable for all audiences. Listener discretion is advised.
Our next storyteller has been described as a modern Renaissance woman. She fell in love with storytelling when, as a young girl, she attended the National Storytelling Festival in Jonesboro, Tennessee. She found her passion for all things horror around the same time when she started watching Nickelodeon's Are You Afraid of the Dark with her brother. As a natural storyteller, her stories are vivid, engaging, and well-crafted, drawing you into the center of her world. Tonight, delivering her rendition of Poe's classic, The Raven, put your hands together for East Tennessee's Barbie, tonight, the Raven Barbie, Melanie Alexander.
What I wanted to do tonight was introduce you guys to Edgar Allan Poe in a very different way. And so I hope that I can merge this old world American legend of The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe, which is a nod to my dearest friends who have created Ravens Vail, which is why we're all here tonight. Because what we do tonight matters. It carries on. It's just like Disney's version of A Christmas Story. So the story drops you, okay, with this guy who has just lost the love of his life. And her name is Lenore, which is tragic. And so poor Lenore has died, and he is just pining and grieving at home alone in the night. Grief-stricken. That's where we meet him. And then this little creature, the raven, comes. He doesn't even know if it's real at first, but it is. And the only thing that this raven can say, the only word it knows, like a frickin' parrot, is nevermore. So I'm gonna need your help tonight. Every time I go like this, I need you guys to say nevermore. Okay, let's practice. Nevermore. Yeah, exactly. And let me tell you what happens at the end, because I need you to stay with me. Is he asks in his own way, will this grief ever, 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 ever leave? And the raven says at the end, nevermore. Good job, guys. So talk about a haunt, right? But here's the message I want for you guys tonight. There are gonna be times where your pain and your grief is so intense. And the bad news is that intensity, no matter how much work we do, it never actually really goes away. It's not meant to. It's what imprints on us and makes us who we are. What can change is the expansion of our container to hold that grief. And because of that grief, we can be more kind and more compassionate, more brave, and ultimately be able to tell more horrific stories that other people can relate to. So, are you guys ready for me to take you back to Edgar Allan Poe's The Raven? Once upon a midnight dreary, while I pondered, weak and weary, over many a quaint and curious volume of forgotten lore. While I nodded, nearly napping, suddenly there came a tapping. And as someone gently rapping at my chamber door. "'Tis some visitor," I muttered, tapping at my chamber door. "Only this, nothing more." Distinctly I remember it was the bleak December, and each separate dying ember wrought its ghost upon the floor. Eagerly I wished the morrow. Vainly I had sought to borrow from my books surcease of sorrow. Sorrow for the lost Lenore, nameless here forevermore. And the silken, sad, uncertain rustling of each purple curtain thrilled me, filled me with fantastic terrors never felt before. So that now, to still the beating of my heart, I stood repeating, "'Tis some visitor, entreating entrance at my chamber door. Some late visitor, entreating entrance at my chamber door. This is it, nothing more." But presently, my soul grew stronger, hesitating then no longer. "Sir," I said, or "Madam," or they. "Truly your forgiveness I implore. But the fact is I was napping, tapping at my chamber door. That I scarce was sure I heard you. Here I opened wide the door. Darkness there, and nothing more. Deep into that darkness peering, long I stood there wondering, fearing, doubting, dreaming dreams no mortal ever dared to dream before. But the silence was unbroken, and the stillness gave no token, and the only word there spoken was the whispered word, "Lenore?" This I whispered, and echo murmured back the word, "Lenore." Merely this, and nothing more. Back into the chamber turning, all my soul within me burning, soon again I heard a tapping somewhat louder than before. "Surely," I said, "surely that is something at my window lattice? Let me see then what threat there is, this mystery explore. Let my heart be still a moment, and this mystery explore." "'Tis the wind, and nothing more." Open here I flung the shutter, when with many a flirt and flutter, in there stepped a stately raven of the saintly days of yore. Not the last obseance made he, not a minute stopped or stayed he, but with mane of lord or lady perched above my chamber door, perched upon a bust of Pallas just under my chamber door, perched and sat, and nothing more. Then this ebony bird, beguiling my sad face into smiling by the grave and stern decorum of the countenance it wore. "Though thy crest be shorn and shaven thou," I said, "art sure no craven, ghastly grim and ancient raven, wandering from the nightly shore. Tell me what thy lordly name is on the night's Plutonian shore." Then the raven said, "Nevermore." Much I marveled, this ungainly fowl to hear discord so plainly, though its answer little meaning, little relevancy bore. For we cannot help agreeing that no living human being ever yet was blessed with seeing bird above his chamber door with such a name as Nevermore. But the raven, sitting lonely on the placid bust, spoke only that one word, as if its soul in that one word he did outpour. Nothing farther than he uttered, not a feather than he fluttered, till I scarcely more than muttered, "Other friends have flown before. On the morrow he will leave me, as my hopes have flown before." The bird assured him, "No, nevermore." Startled at the stillness, broken by replies so aptly spoken? Doubtless, I said, what it utters is its only stock and store. Caught from some unhappy master who unmerciful disaster followed fast and followed faster till his songs one burden bore. Tell the dirge of his hope that melancholy burden bore of nevermore. But the raven, still beguiling all my fancy into smiling, straight I wheeled a cushioned seat in front of the bird and bussed the door. Then, upon the velvet sinking, I bestook myself to linking fancy unto fancy, thinking what this ominous bird of yore, what this grim, ungainly, ghastly, gaunt, and ominous bird of yore meant in croaking. Nevermore. This I sat, engaged in guessing, but no syllable expressing to the fowl whose fiery eyes now burned into my bosom's core. This and more I sat divining, with my head at ease reclining on the cushion's velvet lining, that lamp light gloated o'er. But whose velvet violet lining, with the lamp light gloating o'er? She, Lenore, shall press, nevermore. Then methought the air grew denser, perfumed from an unseen censer, swung by seraphim, whose footfalls tinkled on the chuffed floor. Wretch, I cried, thy God hath lent thee, by these angels he hath sent thee, respite, respite, from thy memories of Lenore. Quaff, oh quaff this kind, and forget this lost Lenore. Quoth Raven, nevermore. Prophet, I said, thing of evil, prophet still, if bird or devil, whether tempter sent, or whether tempest tossed thee ashore, desolate, yet all undaunted, on this desert land enchanted, on this home by horror haunted, tell me truly, I implore, is there balm in Gilead? Tell me, I implore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Prophet, I said, thing of evil, prophet still, if bird or devil, by that heaven that bends above us, by that God we both adore, tell this soul with sorrow laden, if within the distant Aidenn it shall clasp a sainted maiden whom the angels name Lenore. Clasp a rare and radiant maiden whom the angels name Lenore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Be that word our sign of parting, bird or foe, I shrieked upstarting. Get thee back into the tempest and the night's Plutonian shore. Leave no black plume as a token of that lie thy soul has spoken. Leave my loneliness unbroken. Quit the bust above my door. Take thy beak from out my heart and take thy form from off my door. Quoth the raven, nevermore. And the raven, never flitting, still is sitting on the pallid bust of Pallas just above my chamber door. And his eyes have all the seeming of a demon's that is dreaming, and the lamp light over him streaming throws his shadow on the floor. And my soul, from out that shadow that lies floating on the floor, shall be lifted. Nevermore. May you nevermore be burdened by a past that haunts you, and have the most fabulous Halloween season. Thank you so much.
Ravens Vail Coven is a production of Small Raven Media. Audio engineering and sound design by Nick Devan at Nicky D Sound. Copyrighted 2023 by Small Raven Media. All rights reserved.